Hello everybody, and welcome back to the second part of this tutorial, namely on how to upgrade the existing tires on a Xiaomi M365 Pro from an 8.5 inch tire to a 10 inch tire. I already upgraded the front tire, and you can check that out in another video. And now all that remains is to also upgrade the rear tire. I have been postponing this tutorial because I didn't have the parts needed, but now I do, and we can get started. What I had here on the rear is an experiment of mine. It was basically a solid tire, but unfortunately it vibrated the scooter a lot and it didn't perform to my expectation. So now I'm gonna change it. As for the tools needed, we will of course need the outer and inner tubes for the rear tire. Couple of bits, flathead screwdrivers, and it's good to have a cutter, a Dremel tool, hot glue gun, and if you have lying around some heat shrink tubings. Last but not least, we will need the parts needed for this upgrade, namely the spacers to rise up the fender as well as a recline foot of the scooter, mudguard protection support. I think I will use the old one, and of course the adequate screws. In the package we will also receive this extension cable for the rear brake light. Let's get started. So first things first, we're gonna remove these reflective stickers. And unscrew these protective plates. Once the bolts are exposed, we can unscrew them as well. So I'm gonna take the wheel off. And since I'm also gonna remove this mudguard anyway, I'm gonna unscrew it right now. Remember that the cable is fragile and you should be careful when unplugging this. So this is the mudguard with the electrical connector, which we're gonna extend with the little cable ribbon. Okay, so starting with the wheel, I'm gonna take off the old tire. Since I'm not interested in preserving this, I'm just gonna cut it down. So now it's time to put the 10-inch tire on the rim. And as you can see, this tire has directional indication on its side, which means this is the way it needs to go on the rim. I'm just gonna put one side on, then I'm gonna squeeze the inner tubing in, and then put it on all together. And now I'm gonna inflate it and deflate it a couple of times until the inner tube settles in its place. Okay, so the wheel is done. Moving on to the risers. So the first riser, which is for the kickstand of the scooter, is held in place by 2 screws. So in the conversion kit you will receive 2 risers and a longer screw to hold the kickstand and the risers to the scooter. So this is the extension cable which should allow me to rise up this mudguard a bit, but after closely inspecting it I saw that the wheel is now too close to the frame of the scooter, and the cable which used to run here is now very close to the wheel and it rubs against it. So what I was thinking of doing was to remove this holder and move this this connector closer to the mudguard, maybe even cut a hole in the mudguard. And I was thinking of either bringing the extension cable here on the side, just like the brake cable, or I was thinking of making a little hole right through the frame of the scooter and putting the cable right through that hole. But for that I need to see how much space I have in the scooter, and as such I will need to take off the the lower guard of the scooter, held in by screws. So, as you can see, I have plenty of room here to make a hole in the frame, either here down on the side or up. So what I decided to do was to cut a little hole with my Dremel tool, and I'm gonna pull this wire through here, through this opening, and straight up to the brake light. And to make sure no water gets in, I used some heat shrink tubing, which will make this hole a tighter fit. And I'm also gonna use some hot glue. And for this original hole, I'm gonna cut down this rubber, put it here, and fill up this hole. So what I did was to put a tighter heat shrink tube on it, I took off these caps. They have a little holder there which needed to be lifted, and then it just pulled away. So this will go straight inside here, and only this part will come out. Afterwards I'm gonna put the cover back on. And for this hole I'm gonna use some hot glue. So in the end, what I ended up doing was putting a heat shrink tube on this existing rubber gasket, and now the hole in it completely disappeared. And just to be on the safe side that this doesn't disconnect, I also use some electrical tape. And now I'm gonna put this cover back on. Okay, so the next step is to put back the wheel and see how the mudguard behaves with the wheel mounted. So I'm also gonna put these plastic covers back on, because I'm done with the wheel. So now I need to figure out how to solve the issue with this connector. I'm gonna unscrew this. And remove this holder. So now I'm gonna cut away this plastic and put this connector inside here. So as you can see, with these spacers in place, this connector still doesn't sit flush enough. So I'm gonna cut away from the spacers as well, just a little bit. Great, so now I'm gonna glue everything into place. First I'm gonna glue these two spacers together. And now I'm gonna hold it till it stiffens. Okay, so now that it has almost completely dried, I'm gonna put it back on. Be mindful though that this light has a specific polarity, so now that the connector is not specific anymore and you can plug it anyway in, you have to take into consideration the polarity, and for this you can turn on the bike and see when it makes contact or when not. I also put some hot glue to hold this cable in place just in case. So yeah, let's put it on and finish this project. So the light is on and I know that I plugged it in good. So as you can see, the cable sits really nicely there, and all I have to do is screw these 3 screws in and I'm ready to go. We will have to use these 3 screws which came with the kit. So apparently this old mudguard support is not good for this 10-inch wheel. I'm gonna try with the support which came in the conversion kit. So I'm gonna have to take everything down, the mudguard, and put this on instead. So just a little update. I was thinking that the jack and the cable in this mudguard was a bit too close to the wheel for my comfort, and even though it did not touch, I didn't want to risk it, so I ended up removing the cable from the mudguard. Here it is, running aside to the mudguard holder, and what I did was bring the cable from down from the battery compartment. I don't know if you can see it, but it doesn't matter, it's here. It runs to the side here, and the existing hole which was used to put this plastic cover in, I drilled out a bit to make it larger to fit this cable through. And what I ended up doing was pulling the cable through this hole, and similarly I cut a little opening in this cover. So basically when this will sit in its place, the cable from the brake light will go into the cover, and it is in this cover I will make the connection to the brake light. So basically what I did to this is drill a hole a bit larger here, just enough to fit the cable through, cut open the plastic cover, and for the hole I drilled, I also I cut off this support. Additionally, I don't know if you can see it, I drilled some space into these strengtheners, into these walls, so that I can gather the cable in an orderly fashion. And now I eliminated the risk of any interference to the cable, to the wheel. And now I can fully enjoy my scooter even on bumpy roads. I want to repeat though that the original solution was good as well. It didn't touch the wheel. It just ran a bit too close for my comfort. So I'm gonna put this cover on and show you the end result. And this is the final result. As you can see, besides the cable running down on the mud guard holder, everything is clean and tidy. And the cables are well protected and out of reach of the wheel. So if you liked this follow-up tutorial on how to upgrade to a 10-inch wheelbase on a Xiaomi m365 Pro or regular, then please remember to hit the subscribe and like buttons, because I will shortly post more home project videos. Thank you very much and see you later.